Hello, it's time for Midday Live. Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Lai. Top stories for the next one. Our African Peer Review Mechanism Institute Oversight Committee in 170 districts across the country to aid its operations. And straight to the international front, Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission meeting to take stock of last week's general election. So do stay with me and get interactive. Facebook and Twitter is News on TV3 or short code 1734. I've got the details in a jiffy. Now we start with our stories, and some Christians are optimistic the Lent period will empower them to emulate the acts of Jesus Christ. Solis Fefeti reports, aside spiritual benefits, some believe the Lent season has some health benefits. Lent is observed by some Christians, culminating in the celebration of Easter. During this season, Christians fast for 40 days, as Jesus Christ did before he was crucified. The ritual is well acclaimed in the Roman Catholic and Lutheran denominations, but is not observed by some charismatic churches. But what is its significance to those who observe it?
It brings us closer to God, and we humble ourselves before the Lord. And even it is good for us, for our health. You know, during the period we eat a lot. So during that time, we just maybe reduce the food that we eat. It builds it up.
I'm observing the Lent season. It helps me in my walk with God and my Christian life. And I believe as well, it helps you conquer any form of tribulations or trials and temptations we meet in our lives as Christians.
When the fasting was getting to an end, Jesus Christ was tempted by the devil. And because he was strengthened, he was able to stand the test of time, and he was able to defeat the devil. So as Christians, as we fast, God gives unto us the enablement for us to defeat the world and whatever that is in it. Weaknesses that are within it are sort of subdued. You are able to walk in victory as a Christian. And maybe the other thing is that he draws us also unto himself as we fast. And so it's an exercise that personally I will encourage every Christian to get into it.
Talking too much, watching television too much, you have to bring all this down so that you can stay focused on that Lent and see the blessing that you can get from it.
And this period we prepare ourselves to show our remorse for the very sins that we have committed, what actually caused God so much pain out to bring his child into the world. And then we are also showing sympathy with his suffering, a way of telling the Lord Jesus Christ we are very sorry, and we are sorry for what he had to go through because of our many sins.
And more this afternoon, the conclave of Roman Catholic bishops is to meet on March 12 at the Vatican to begin the process of electing a new pope to replace Pope Benedict XVI, who stepped down on February 28 this very year. Conclaves traditionally begin 15 days after the seat of St. Peter, as the papal office is called, becomes vacant. The conclave has been the procedure for choosing a pope for more than half of the time the church has been in existence. And I do have on the phone line this afternoon Reverend Father Nicholas Efrie, and he's the Secretary General of the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. Good afternoon, Reverend Father, and thanks for your time. Are you on the line, Reverend Father? I think we're having some difficulty reaching Reverend Father Nicholas Efrie, but while we're still trying to get him, the conclave of Roman Catholic bishops is to meet on March 12 at the Vatican to begin the process of electing a new pope to replace Pope Benedict XVI, who stepped down on February 28 this year. Hello, Reverend Father.
Hello.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Now, tomorrow's meeting, what really is the conclave meeting going to entail?
You see, the conclave, whatever happens at the conclave is difficult to know, but the conclave is about electing somebody, somebody to lead the church. So whatever goes is about voting, prayer, then reflection, and then voting. And that is it. That is the main thing. So they will be there until somebody is elected. They don't come out until somebody has been chosen.
And how long can this drag on? As you're telling me that they will be there until someone is elected. How long can this drag?
It can take as long as they get the person.
Meaning it could go for days?
Yes, for days. Yes, for days. And it can be for weeks.
And from where you sit, Reverend Father, is looking at, from your very own point of view, is there a possibility this can drag?
So if, for instance, if somebody is chosen and the person maybe doesn't accept, you have to then elect another person. You know, so it can drag. It's not, and if somebody doesn't get the number of votes, I think the majority. The two-thirds majority that the person should get, if he doesn't get, it means if two people are being voted for, they will continue to vote until they get the number.
And is there a possibility an African can come up?
Any Catholic, baptized Catholic, male Catholic can become a pope. So an African, a baptized African male can become a pope.
Okay, and what percentage of vote of the 115 cardinals does one require to be declared pope?
It's 2/3.
2/3. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, you're about saying something, Reverend?
No, it's okay.
All right, well, thank you very much. I just spoke to Reverend Father Nicholas Zefri, and he's the Secretary General of the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, and we're looking at the conclave of Roman Catholic Bishops, the meeting on March 12, which is tomorrow, to begin the process to elect a new pope to replace Pope Benedict XVI. More on Midday Live, but away from the church. Assemblyman and some residents of Chado, a suburb of La, have expressed worry about the positioning of prepaid meters on electricity poles outside their homes after a three-phase meter caught fire Monday morning. They're calling on the Electricity Company of Ghana to refix their meters to their homes. Eyewitnesses told us there was a blast after power was restored to the area at about 6:30 a.m. Monday, after which they realized the meter had caught fire. At the time we got to the scene at 8:38 a.m., the fire had been put out by a resident in the area with an extinguisher. The meter was burnt into ashes. Emmanuel Nate Kwapong is the assemblyman for the area.
This morning around 6:30 a.m., I had a call that to come for the meters are burning. When we were here, madam, if you do something small, come and see the fire burning seriously. So what means that it is not helping us.
He explained the new prepaid meters had been fixed not too long ago.
A few weeks ago, these people just came around fixing the meters, by the pole outside there without our notice. Me as an assemblyman, no information, no education, no nothing. We knew nothing about it. So we called them just a week ago that they should come and then do the right thing.
You're still watching Midday Live. We go for What Do You Think? And today we're focusing on electricity. Looking at the current supply of electricity, do you think there should be an increment in electricity tariffs? What do you think?
There shouldn't be any increment in electricity because in the first place the service is poor. Most factories are just lying down and they cannot get power. There must be continuous supply of electricity. If their service is okay, and then you sit down with us and then you talk about increment, probably will listen to you. But when your service is very poor, who will listen to you?
In fact, they shouldn't come in with increase. They forgive us a very good service. That is what we need. Because right now, all our business is collapsing. Buying fuel for the generators. In fact, we are facing problems. So government should come in and do something about this electricity problem because it's killing us.
After bringing this and then disrupting and then destroying our things, what is the basis of increasing? We believe that to increase, the tariff means that now we are getting a continuous supply. Your system is improving. Maybe the infrastructure which is coming into system calls for additional data. So you need to. But from the basic, we are at zero. And then why then should So I don't believe that it is a time for the increases of tariffs.
There should not be an increment, because at the moment you cannot have electricity supply for 24 continuous hours. You can't have it. And if you cannot have for 24 hours, where do you get the extra money to pay for the increment? You are not satisfied with the service they are giving you. And if you are not satisfied with the service, how do you say you are increasing it? So I don't think they have any basis to say they are increasing this. It's not okay.
The supply is not adequate. So what is the use of the increment?
All right, so with me here in the studio to look at issues dealing with utilities, I do have Nana Chimpim Janswa. She's the Director Public Relations External Affairs with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I don't think we should be smiling now, because there is a critical issue and a serious issue dealing with the utilities. In one word, the last time we did speak, you did say a lot, and you did tell me a lot will be done with regards to the utilities and the service they do provide. Now, from January to March, we're somewhere getting close to the middle of March. How would you describe utilities and the service they provide in this country?
What I would say, Wendy, is that we are in a crisis situation, and you don't give marks when you are in a crisis situation. The resource that it used to generate electricity in this country is insufficient. And that is why we are faced with all these problems with load shedding.
Are you satisfied?
Certainly not. We are not satisfied with the way the load shedding is being managed. We cannot say we are not satisfied with load shedding because the power is not available. If power is not available, as it happened in 2006, you manage the load or you manage the power that you have.
But within
that, there should be some kind of civility in the management of the load shedding. Because if you bring me a schedule that I will go off between this time and that time and I do not go off, fine. But if I know that today I am not going off and I go off in the morning, then you bring the power on maybe around 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock you take me off again. This certainly shows that there is a problem. And what is that problem? The problem is that we are seeing a lot of faults in the system,
which has always been there.
Yes, but because of the load shedding, it is as if we are overlooking the faults. Because, for instance, it also boils down to the issue of education, boils down to the issue of information dissemination. If you go off for 5 days in a row, it's certainly not load shedding. If you experience a power surge, it's certainly not load shedding. But you hear consumers saying that within a minute my light went off 3-4 times. It's certainly not load shedding.
But who should be doing the education? For example,
the ECG,
we did
the
show
utilities,
a story some few seconds ago where the meter got burnt. Apparently, the lights went out Sunday evening and it came on this morning, and then they had that issue. There was a blast and then the meter got burnt. And the assemblyman was saying that no one had educated them on how to even use the meter. They were just there and they were fixed.
That is unfortunate, because the procedure is that before you change a credit meter to a prepaid meter, you need to sensitize the public. I cannot say that they didn't do it till we go and find out what the situation is, what actually happened. It is good that this meter is outside and everybody has seen that it is burnt. So now, if we are going to investigate the matter, ECG cannot tell us that it is not true. We have all seen it. Whatever the situation that made it got burnt, I am not the one to say it. I believe that it is high time they themselves came out and spoke to the public about some of these issues. The PURC does not generate electricity. We do not transmit electricity. We do not provide or distribute electricity.
But you do regulate them. Before I even let you continue, have you received any proposals for high utility tariffs?
No, we haven't received proposal from VRA. VRA said VRA is the utility service provider saying they need a tariff increase because they have to buy crude oil. Of course, they have to buy crude oil because there is a problem with gas, the resource that is used to generate electricity, which is gas. The alternative resource to crude oil, which is gas, which is a cheaper fuel, is not there.
Do they deserve it?
You see, my dear
Ghanaian,
Wendy, nobody wants to pay an increase in tariffs. And you also don't use a transient situation like this to increase tariffs. Because, for instance, if we are going to increase tariffs now, then we are looking at using a crude oil price, a crude oil generation mix of hydro and crude, instead of a hydro and gas, to increase tariffs. We are being told that the West Africa gas pipeline will be on stream by first week in May. If we increase tariffs today, as I sit with you, Wendy, the tariff will actualize end of April or end of March, because that is the billing cycle. You get their money end of April, end of March, fine. But even the process of a tariff increase is not an easy one. You need to go through all the steps that the law stipulates you have to go through. Because if you don't go through all the steps and somebody challenges you in court, you jeopardize the tariff. Because there is the law says that proposals should be made, they file with us, you have to publish the proposal for everybody to see. Transparency. Then after that, you have to do extensive stakeholder consultations. The commission itself would have to interrogate every bit of that proposal. It is after that that you can say that due to this, due to that, due to A, due to B, you need an increase or you do not need an increase.
So in effect, if they should come up with a tariff increment, if they should give you a proposal probably end of March, are you going to accept it, looking at the processes you've just
we will accept any proposal they bring? You see, that one, they have they are allowed to bring it. It is legitimate. They have the legitimate right to bring their proposal any day, any time. The other aspect of it is that, is it right? Is it appropriate? Is the PURC going to give them the increase? That one is for another day, that we have to really investigate, because tariffs are not increased in a vacuum. Even the one that is termed automatic adjustment, it is not that automatic. It is automatic because it is dependent on certain parameters that are beyond the utilities. For instance, the price of crude oil is beyond the utilities, availability of the product is beyond the utilities, exchange rate is beyond the utilities. There are issues that are beyond the utilities. That is why we call it automatic adjustment formula. So you look at these parameters, these indicators, and you automatically adjust.
While the consumers suffer?
No, I'm just explaining to you.
But I'm asking that if in case they should come.
We haven't even gotten to the point of increasing or doing anything.
And while PURC looks on, we're still having Ghanaians suffer. Companies are suffering due to the problems that these utilities say they do have.
Wendy, let me tell you
what
something.
Is the PURC doing about these situations? I am not
very pleased if we talk like this. I think fundamentally we should understand that there is a crisis. We have lost 200 megawatts of power. When I found investigation of what 200 megawatts of power will cover, they told me that 40% of Accra is 200 megawatts. Do you get me? Mm-hmm. That is fundamental. We have a problem. Load shedding will go on as long as there is a deficiency in the generation capacity. Do you get me? But within that, if you say suffer in the sense that there is load shedding, that one we have to go through it. It happened in 2006.
But that shouldn't be the case. As a country that wants to develop, that shouldn't be the case. But if you did hear the views of some of the people I did go out to talk to this morning, they're frustrated.
Wendy, you are not in charge of the resource that is used to generate electricity.
Fine, but I'm talking to you as someone who belongs to the regulatory
So I'm
body.
telling you the truth. I am telling you that there's a deficiency in generation. There's going to be load shedding as long as there's a deficiency in that resource. But within that, there are also faults.
And how long will this go on?
As long as they are saying by May, we are looking at Bui coming on board, additional generation. We are looking at T3, 132 megawatts. We are looking at the gas coming on board. We are looking at our own gas at Atuabo coming on board.
So it means that, and even if you did state that there is crisis, have Ghanaians been educated enough to know that there is crisis? Because people are still complaining. The understanding is just not there. What is the PRC doing about this issue? I
do agree with you that people do not understand, and the utilities, VRA especially.
Would you say that PRC has failed Ghanaians?
No, we haven't. It is not our duty to educate.
Fine, but you have a regulatory role to play.
Please, it is not our duty to educate consumers on the shortfall in generation. That is not our job. My job is to tell you that these are your rights, these are your responsibilities as a consumer. This is what the law says. This is how I protect you.
And have you done that enough?
Of course, that's why we've been doing it. But you see, when you do that, it is clouded in, because you have a problem. When if you're a communicator, before you communicate, you have to do your research to find out, is it the time for me to talk about rights when there is no electricity? What we can do is to push the utilities to talk.
And are they doing that? They are not doing that.
And that is what I've been doing everywhere I go. If we get the opportunity, I go with them. But when they get the opportunity, my dear, they are talking about they want tariff increase instead of talking about the challenges that they are facing. That is why we organize fora all over the country. We have organized the fora all over the country for them to talk to consumers. Maybe the next step is to be on TV and on radio. But people have now understood in the regions, in the districts, about what the actual situation is.
Well, Naya, this is a continuing issue.
Yes,
I don't think that, or it doesn't look like you're really having enough communication with the utilities.
It is not us. You see,
that is also
I am
a
sad that
challenge.
You are talking like this.
No, yeah, because yes, we do call them.
Yes, so
but PRC also has a critical role to play in all of this.
But when as you sit here, and I say, Wendy, you are an adult.
But how is communication between the PRC and the utilities like?
It is good. But if I tell you to go and communicate, talk about these issues, right? And I take you and you don't go, I push you and you don't do it, then it means we have to find other innovative ways to ensure that they do it.
All right, well, Nanaya, we'll have to end it here. My producer is on my neck, but definitely we'll still talk about this issue again. Nanaya, Chimping Chanswa is the Director, Public Relations and External Affairs, Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission. We're looking at the service given by utilities in this country. We'll get back to that very issue later on. But still on Midday Live, mission hospitals across the country have suspended services to NHIS card holders effective today, March 11. They claim the National Health Insurance Authority owes facilities some 50 million cedis. Ashanti Regional correspondent Evan Sinkum went round mission hospitals in Kumasi and has come through with this report. Difficulty. We're actually getting him live, but we're having some difficulty getting William Evans Income to tell us more on that very issue that has to do with mission hospitals. Okay, we do have him now, so
we are bringing you live pictures from the SDA hospital here in Kwadas, one of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, or one of the health facilities under the Christian Health Association of Ghana. And it has to do with their plans to suspend all medical services to NHIS card holders. The reason is that the NHIA owes the association, or 183 health facilities under the association, to a tune of 50 million Ghana cedis, and for that matter they are going to withdraw their services to all those clients who come here with NHIS cards. But we are going to speak to some of the clients here to find out from them if indeed what the plan action that they announced earlier is being embarked on. I'm trying to speak to one of the clients to actually tell us what is happening here, if he has been given medical attention. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Well, your friend me William Ibansinkum. It means okuta wo National Health Insurance Card. Oba ya hell.
Pacho ya hweme na mibidru ha na no panwa na yeka chem se insurance ni nya dwuma. Enti no bibia me bia gise metueska. Enti medical tueska ansa. Labo amekọ metueska. Ti ansa na doctor so. Efe na doctor abehweme ansa na de wo hons masa kutua enti sanity.
Uchi asen na se ya no maka se card no nye enduo ni nyina na bia card ne koba.
We de ye ba na no panwa na omo na so ka kire yen se insurance ni nya dwuma biem. Enti ni nya de betumi. Nya de betumi ade ya de insurance na tua. Enti twa se yetueska. Ti anopana na omo ka kire yen ene ma yen so ya de insurance ni gbo wa yetueska.
Well, so as you can see, he is holding his card here, and it's just an evidence that he actually came here with his NHIS card, but he has also been asked to pay for services being rendered here. I'm trying to get more of the client to speak to also tell me their side of the story, if indeed they are here with their card, but they have been asked to pay something before they get medical attention here. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Me hu se okuta wo NHIS card ya show
me pa cho be de mo fase na bai ya hwe no na mom de chen se ye beduru ha homache enti ebra adwumafo no hwe asese ye adwuma no e na omode announcement bi tu ye nim se omonye health insurance ni bio enti obi a won kreska na bia ode health insurance na ba no onsan kofie na ha ye mapa enam sa announcement nti dodo na menhum se meme yade na me de ba me fa se yade ne so ebi so de so omu di su ni awe ho na ye di kofie se wodi anu oba no onyim se bia obetreska enti nani da so nyina na health insurance eno so na anya adwuma yi enti amadodo na ko be kura be gina yi adum bi be se bi na yese masu afro bi a me de hwe me fa se ye se de ayedama yi.
All right, so that is the situation here at the SDA hospital. But let me quickly go through some of the statistics on the outpatient visit per month or the whole of last year. Last year, this hospital recorded a total of 87,171 and all these people were NHIS card holders. Those who are not subscribed or who have not been subscribed to the NHIS card also recorded some 23,449. So obviously you could say that about 80% of the cases reported at the OPD are patients with NHIS card. I have with me the accountant, and he is going to explain to me what at all is happening, because last week the Minister of Health, Ms. Sherry Aite, gave an assurance that government is going to do everything possible, or her ministry is going to do everything possible to make sure that these issues are resolved, and that she actually appealed to CHAG or members of CHAG to give medical attention to all patients who come here with NHIS card. But that is not what we are saying here at the SDA hospital here in Kwada. So we are asking our accountant if either they did not get what the minister said, or they are actually decided to be entrenched on their position. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, last week, Ms. Sherry Aite, the Minister of Health, gave you an assurance that her ministry is doing everything possible to make sure that all these grievances are resolved, and that you should give medical services to those with NHIS cards. Why are you not going by these directives?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We are all working together as a body to help meet the health needs of Ghanaians. They are brothers and sisters. They are all, they could be, they are cherished relatives. But once the mission hospitals all form a unit to be a CHAG also gave us a directive that we should hold on with some of the services as we render to NHIS patients. But in fact, we cannot deny any Ghanaian of having access to health. Just that if you bring your NHIS card, you'll be compelled to pay, with a section of deliveries and emergencies. Other than that, you have to pay cash. That is the directive we had from CHAG.
Well, you made mention that you have been given directive to attend to certain medical cases. So what about malaria? Because I understand malaria is the top most cases recorded here. Are you also not giving health services to patients with malaria cases?
Yeah, it depends on the condition. As we said, it happens to be emergencies. But if it's an acute, disease or diagnosis, it happens to be malaria or something you walked in and you're going home, definitely you pay cash. And even for admissions, once it is enshrined under NHIS that we should see you free, but because of the indebtedness, we are compelled to, the patient is compelled to pay money for that. So even if you come with malaria, you have to pay.
All right, so
those, with the exception of those who were admitted before today, 11th, for them, NHIS is covering them. But for those who came today, 11th March, they are all supposed to pay cash.
All right, so let me quickly just go through some of the statistics I have in my hands now. This has to do with the number of outpatient cases actually reported here in this hospital. And I made mention earlier that in 2012, this hospital recorded a total of 87,171 OPD cases, that is those on the National Health Insurance scheme, and then 23,449 with those without National Health Insurance. Now, as you can see, some of the chairs are virtually empty, and it tells you that the directive has actually not been heeded to. I mean, talking about directives given by the health minister. I mean, this is not normal as far as this hospital is concerned. Because this hospital is one of the most congested health facilities in the Ashanti region. If I'm not exaggerating now, I can say that apart from Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, this is also one of the major hospital or health facilities centers that we have in the region. But today, most of the chairs are virtually empty.
All right, thank you very much indeed, William Evanson He brought that report from the Ashanti region. And in some more news, a press release from the local government and rural development ministry signed by the minister, Akwesi Opong-Fosu, indicates that Dr. Callistus Mahama has been appointed as acting head of the local government service. Dr. Callistus Mahama has been appointed as the acting head of local government service in accordance with Section 51 of the Local Government Service Act 2003, Act 656. And Dr. Callistus Mahama has a considerable experience in local governance and decentralization. According to the minister, he served as a member of the ministerial expert group for the review of Ghana's decentralization in 2009. He was a member of the Local Government Service Council and an assembly member where he gained extensive knowledge in local democracy. Dr. Mahama is currently the executive secretary of the IMCC Secretariat, as well as the director or deputy director of the Institute of Local Government Studies. He is a product of KNUST and the University of Cambridge, England. He has to his credit many publications and consultancy assignments in the area of local governance and decentralization. You're still watching Midday Live?
About health issues, of course, the NHIS, and we've put before you the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission's stance on issues around tariffs in the country. It's now time for us to do business, and here we're starting with something on revenue generation. Deep down, government intends to focus on expanding the tax base and improving the efficiency in tax administration to generate more revenue. Well, some economic experts have also suggested aligning active policies on natural resources in addition to further enhance revenue mobilization.
The 2013 budget statement highlighted on resource mobilization initiatives. Key among these are administering the right taxes to both the formal and informal sector, as well as roping in the untaxed. Domestic tax improved from 15.1% in 2011 to 16.0% in 2012. Tax GDP ratio, including oil but excluding exemptions, also increased from 15.4% in 2011 to 16.2% in 2012. Despite the strong revenue performance in 2012, economic experts believe the country needs to sustain long-term revenue mobilization efforts.
The integration of the revenue agencies. Today we have a more integrated revenue agency, and again, from the figures that the government is telling us, we have seen that the integration has helped to actually improve revenue collection. So I think that some efforts have been made, and we are trying to get the efforts to get stronger. But the challenge is that it is difficult to tax a sector that is not formalized, and these people can choose to declare their income, or they can under-declare their income. And again, when you want to probably get to tighten them, then the procedure for collecting the revenue becomes very expensive.
Aside the collection of taxes, another key area they encourage to increase revenue is through processing of more raw materials.
Engage in more processing of the raw materials. Instead of selling them in their natural state, we can go into processing of them. And I can talk about the export of our crude oil in its raw state, which is also another bad thing that is being done, because we have a Temoya refinery there. We could have processed the crude for us to give us even the gas.
And one thing that we have to look at as a country now is that how can we align policy actively towards a well-defined target, which we are going to work on probably on yearly basis, and have a performance targeted at it, so that again we can evaluate the whole spectrum of where do we want to industrialize, what are the strategies, who is implementing them, and who is responsible for those strategies. I think that that is really a sure way to go.
They expect government to be critical in collecting and updating data on businesses. Monitoring and aligning active policies will also go a long way in improving revenue generation for the country.
Well, so away from revenue generation, let's now talk about some agribusiness. The Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute at Bunsu has introduced a drought-resistant variety of yam. Already 10 farmers from the organization based at Nya Kumasi and Manyakrobo districts in the eastern region have benefited from the pilot project, and over 100 more are yet to join.
The Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute, one of the 13 institutes under the CSIR, has a mandate to protect and conserve plant species. Each day, several plant species are lost to activities of men. To avoid the extinction of such species, the Plant Genetic and Resources Research Center made a move.
Initiated a program where, through the mini-set technique, we multiplied over 6,000 mini-sets to be distributed to the farmers. Basically, at the Plant Genetic Resources Institute, we are conserving 7 species of the yams. They are as follows. We have the Dioscura alata, we have the Dioscura bobifera, we have Cayennensis, we have Dumetorium, we have Esculenta, we have Prahensalis, and we have Rotudata. What the farmers were very much interested are these 3. That is Dioscura alata, what we call in Akan Afasia, the Dioscura esculenta, that is called Obo Edwunum, and the Dioscura Rotudata, that is the commonest yams that we sell in the market.
Farmers say the yam is robust and high yielding than the usual ones. They express their excitement at the new variety and are hopeful with the adequate financial support they would work hard to feed the country.
It has helped us to stop depending on a few variety of foodstuffs that we have around. As compared to the normal production, where 33% of the production cost of yam is about 33% of production, we realize that in the case of this variety that we're giving, production cost is very cheap, and then the yield is very high.
I think this is very good. Yeah.
50 more farmers were giving some of the new variety to grow. The District Extension Officer, Edward Sawoji, assured the farmers of continual support.
So let's go back to the energy situation where economist Dr. Nimoy Thompson has described as unacceptably high the system of losses of power in generation chain. In an article entitled The Current Utility Crisis, How Our Past Caught Up With Us, Dr. Thompson said at a recent meeting between the ECG staff and the Minister of Energy, the ECG boss reportedly told the minister that ECG continues to witness the declining trend in system losses from a high rate of about 26.2% in year 2011 to about 19.8% by the end of 2012. This is still unacceptably high, Dr. Thompson said. He noted that for a 2,000 megawatt output, for example, it would mean a loss of nearly 400 megawatts, double the reported deficit in generation, prompted by the rupture of the gas pipeline that precipitated the crisis. He said, compare this to Singapore, for instance, where transmission and distribution losses in year 2010 were only 7%, the highest on record, with an average annual loss rate of 5.5% over 4 decades. According to Dr. Thompson, for Ghana, whose population is expected to double to nearly 50 million in about 30 years, the imperative elimination waste, diversifying risk, having the system to cope with them seamlessly with the rise or adequate planning for future needs. Okay, so just before we go, let's just go to the forex market, get the interbank rates, how the banks are exchanging the Ghana cedi with their major international currencies. So go to the British pound. Currently, the banks are buying it at 2 Ghana cedis, 85 pesos, and then if the banks want to give it out to themselves or out to each other, it's going out 2 Ghana cedis, 8561 pesos. So that's the rate on the interbank market. But we will do ourselves good talking about the US dollar also, which is seeing much stabilization against the Ghana cedis. Currently being bought at 1 Ghana cedis 9105 pesos. It's also being sold out at 1 Ghana cedis 9131 pesos. So those are some updates on the US dollar against the Ghana cedi. Won't go deep into the euro, but you can see it on the board. 2 Ghana cedis 4820 pesos, and then 2 Ghana cedis 4848 pesos. So those are some updates. Later tonight we'll spend time talk more about the commodity market and some updates we have there. Very shortly you get the latest updates of sporting events around our fronts. Just to stay with us, we'll be back shortly as Wendy Lai comes through with more.
A family of 3 have been attacked at Ebuakwa, leaving a 14-year-old boy dead. So there you have the pictures on your screens. A family of 3 have been attacked at Ebuakwa, leaving a 14-year-old boy dead. Bring you more on that story in a subsequent bulletin.